Ali Soufan is former supervisory FBI special agent. My colleague Vladimir Duthiers spoke to him about his new book, Anatomy of Terror, From the Death of Bin Laden to the Rise of the Islamic State. He started out by asking for Soufan's reaction to FBI Director James Comey's testimony about the Hillary Clinton email investigation and his admission that he felt mildly nauseous about the potential impact he had on the election.
Well, you know, it's a very difficult position that Director Comey was in. It's like, damn if you do and damn if you don't.
Right.
And
he said it was a decision between a really bad one and a catastrophic
one. Catastrophic, and he took the bad one. And so, and I think if you look at the director, you see how much it's kind of like he's contemplating that decision internally. And he even said, I think about it every day. But usually it's a very difficult situation. It was a very politically charged environment. There was problem at the time with the Justice Department because the Attorney General had a meeting with the President of the United States in the back of a plane, and first he said Secretary Clinton did not do anything wrong, and all the Republicans were up in arms. And then when all the stuff happened with Anthony Weiner and his computer, then he had to inform Congress because he felt he has the obligation.
Right.
And now we can debate that. We can debate if this is the right thing or the wrong thing, but he felt that it was the right thing to do. And some people believe that that may probably alter the results of the election. I truly believe that one letter does not alter the election. There are so many different components.
Right. Right.
So is it the letter? Is it the WikiLeaks? Is it the Russians' interference? Is it, the campaigning in Wisconsin?
And
you know, so
right.
there are so many things. We cannot blame it on Comey. But, you know, I am not there yet to jump on the anti-Comey wagon. From what I know about James Comey, he's an honorable man. And as he said yesterday, we're honest people. I can attest to that. He is an honest man. And he was honorable when he was the United States Attorney here in the Southern District of New York. When I first met him, he was honorable when he stood up against illegal wiretap during the Bush era. And he is honorable today, being the director of the FBI. And all these people who attack Comey left and right because of the October 28th letter are the same people who praised him when he cleared Secretary Clinton before October 28th. And those are the people who will probably praise him at the end of the Russia investigation. So we cannot say that, oh, we cannot trust him, but right. Yes, we can trust him to do the Russia inquiry and the Russia investigation. I think the situation is very complicated, and as an FBI agent, I know how complicated it is from inside. And, you know, General Comey inside the FBI is probably getting the same feedback as he gets from the American public. People who, feels that he should not probably cleared Secretary Clinton. That wasn't his job. Or people who feel that he should not probably send a letter. But to the most part, people in the FBI know the complexity of an FBI investigation, and I think they are sticking to their FBI comrades in this.
And he has, and you know, it's a term that we use a lot in all industries. He has the agents that are in the FBI, for the most part, they support him?
Yes, I believe so. I think he has the support of the director. Absolutely. Right. He has the support of the Bureau. The FBI is not a political organization.
Right.
And,
But they trust him. They would follow him. You know, when he's their leader and they follow him down the path.
I think you follow the director. Yeah. You know, we're not kind of like a political organization. The FBI is part of the national security of the United States. You have leadership. You follow the leadership. And I think this is not going to be a problem for him.
All right. So now let's talk about the book. In this book, you compare Al-Qaeda to a hydra. That's the mythical creature with the 9 heads. How do you weaken an organization when, as people who may remember their mythology will realize, once you cut off one head of the hydra, another one grows in its place?
And you hear a lot of people, describing Al-Qaeda and describing the war against terrorism as whack-a-mole. Every time we cut off a head, more comes up.
Right.
And I think what we need to do is we need to have a comprehensive strategy. Since 2001, since our response for the 9/11 attack, we had a lot of tactics. Drones, for example, drones are tactics. They are not they're not strategy. So we need to have a comprehensive strategy, and that strategy can have military and law enforcement and intelligence, but more importantly, have to have other components to include diplomacy, to include economic aid, to include deeper understanding of the nature of the enemy. What motivates the enemy? What make terrorists march to the orders of the likes of Osama bin Laden or Zarqawi? So what I try to do in this book, not to write another policy book,
right,
not to write another terrorism book, not to write another FBI book. What I like to do is, what I try to do is to dissect it on a human level, to go down to have a trip into the personalities of the people who are trying to do us harm. So I went to bin Laden's personality, and bin Laden introduces Al-Qaeda from the time they were defeated in Afghanistan after 9/11 until his death. His relationship with his commanders, his families, his views of the United States, his views of the West, his views of the Arab Spring. And after that, you get the security chief of Al-Qaeda, who was the interim leader, Saif al-Adil, a really unique Egyptian character who has been with Al-Qaeda from the beginning. After Saif, you get all the affiliates and the leaders of the affiliates, to include the most troublesome affiliate of them all, Al-Qaeda in Iraq, that later became ISIS.
Right.
But you see the Iraq war, and you see Al-Qaeda in Iraq evolving through the eyes of its leader, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi, and so on. Then you will go to Zawahiri, and we go to the other people in the region who are involved. So when you start seeing things from their perspective, I hope that finally, 16 years after 9/11, the American people will start have an understanding of the motivation of this threat. And when we understand it on the deeper level, then we start understanding what might work against the terrorists and how can we diminish that threat. Because the threat today is not the threat that we had on 9/11. That organization, we finished. But it mutated. It mutated and became a message. It became ideology. It became affiliates. And these affiliates have thousands and thousands of members. Bin Laden had 400 members on the eve of 9/11. Syria alone have 20,000 members of Al-Qaeda. Yemen have about 5,000 members of Al-Qaeda. So many affiliates are growing in numbers.
So the idea of just using military might to wipe them out is not necessarily the answer. We've heard generals say...
It is not the answer.
Yeah, we've heard generals say, look, you get more information out of somebody from just having a conversation with them and maybe offering them a cigarette or something.
Absolutely. And you look at General Mattis, for example, and you look at General McMaster, they have a full understanding of the situation. I mean, General Mattis said, if you cut down State Department, you have to buy me more bullets.
Right.
And that is the reality. Because the threat today, for example, the #1 incubating factors that makes young people around the Middle East and around the Muslim world join terrorist organization is basically the conflict zones, the vacuum that happens in places like Syria, in places like Yemen, in places like Libya. This is contributing to radicalizing a new generation. And instead of us just saying that, oh, this is far away, we really don't care what's happening. I think we need to find diplomatic solutions and political solutions for these conflicts. Then we need to start discrediting once and for all the message of the terrorist. Al-Qaeda and ISIS always say, oh, we are the representative of Islam. We are fighting for the sake of Islam. They are hypocrites. If you fight for the sake of Islam, why you blow up markets in Beirut or destroy mosques in even Saudi Arabia?
Right.
So you're far away from the religion.
In fact,
we need to combat that.
Most people that have been killed in recent terrorist attacks have been of the Muslim faith. I mean,
actually, almost 90% of the victims of this form of terrorism, Al-Qaeda's terrorism and ISIS terrorism, are Muslims. And most of the people who are fighting them today in Mosul, in Syria, in Libya, in Yemen are also Muslims. So we have to be very careful with the terminology that we use.
It's a fascinating book. Ali Soufan, former supervisory FBI agent. Thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you
very much.
It's a great pleasure.
So the new book is Anatomy of Terror, from the death of bin Laden to the rise of the Islamic State. Pick it up.